Question comes from Randy Fernandez. He says, which Miami Dolphins rookie will have the biggest impact this year? So I think the obvious answer to the question would be Charles Harris. I think that's probably what most experts would say. I think he's going to have I think he's going to have a big impact this upcoming season, especially when you watch the Matt Burke press conference. I don't think they're gonna. I mean, if he comes in and competes, I mean, obviously Adam Gase made that clear day one in training camp or rookie camp that if it doesn't matter if you're a 7th round pick or a 1st round pick, if you earn your job, then you're gonna be able to play. So I don't think, even though this isn't like a Joe Philbin regime, if Charles Harris is better than Andre Branch, doesn't matter how much money we paid Andre Branch, he will start. So I think Charles Harris has a really good chance of being that guy right away. And I know a lot of people have the run defense concerns and all that other stuff, but we ran a wide 9. We're not really expecting our defensive ends to be all that effective in the run game. It would be nice, obviously, but when you look at our roster, like Andre Branch and Cameron Wake, I mean, there's not much there in terms of run defense. I think really we need better performances from our linebackers. Going on, I'm getting off your question, so let me rein it back in. Point is I think the obvious answer to the question would be Charles Harris, but I'm gonna go off road here. And I'm gonna say it's gonna be Isaiah Ford. I think Isaiah Ford. I've been very impressed from what I've seen from him so far in terms of character, and watching a lot of his film. I think. He has a lot of potential to be something. I mean, obviously, he has the longest shot to make an impact right away because of the depth at the receiver position. But I think Isaiah Ford has a real chance with his route running. Obviously, the Dolphins really need to improve on third down. Our third down percentage is god awful, and Isaiah Ford just knows how to get open. And I think that's something. He also brings a consistency at that position that the Dolphins, I think receivers really struggled with consistency last season. I don't think they're going to struggle as much this upcoming season because they're not learning the playbook. But Isaiah Ford brings that kind of Julian Edelman-esque, like, I'm always open. So I think Isaiah Ford will surprise a lot of people this upcoming season, which is deadly because I think Leonte Crew and Jakeem Grant obviously are going to have a greater impact too. So this receiver core just gets better and better every day. All right, this next question comes from Tristan Brown. He says, Miami Dolphins offensive coordinator Clyde Christensen said Devante Parker will have, quote, a gigantic year. He says, what do you think about that, and what do you think it means? Okay, so what do I think it means? Obviously, Devante has struggled with work ethic. I think dedication has been a problem, I would say. I'm not going to say he's lazy, but I think it had a lot to do with injuries. Obviously, coming out of college, he had the foot issue, and then obviously the hamstring has really hurt him over the last 2 years of his career. Granted, the man's only been in the NFL for 2 seasons. It's so funny how fans just turn on somebody that quick. But Devante Parker obviously has all the talent in the world, but I think injuries have really affected him over these last 2 seasons. I think the hamstring injury really has affected him a lot. I think work ethic has a lot to do with why he hasn't showed up on a consistent basis. Because when you look at Devante Parker, he'll have insane games. Like he'll dominate a game, and then he just won't show up the next game. So I think Devante Parker seen a more consistent Devante Parker, a more dedicated Devante Parker, and a healthier Devante Parker. So if that all stays, if all those 3 things keep happening, then we're definitely going to see Devante Parker be one of the best receivers in the NFL because his talent is insane. A lot of people don't remember, but the man's 6'3", almost 6'4". I think he ran a 4.4. I can't remember the exact 40 time, but it was in the 4.4 range. So he's extremely athletic, great ball skills, was probably the best run after the catch receiver coming out of college, one of the best I've ever seen. The man just makes things happen after the catch. So we saw that against the Buffalo Bills. We've seen that periodically in his career. So I think that's what it means. I think it's with the work ethic, the dedication, and health. I think that's why Clyde thinks that. This next question comes from Romario. He says, what are the Miami Dolphins' biggest strengths and biggest weaknesses going into the 2017 NFL season? This is a great question. I think the biggest strength of the Miami Dolphins is also their biggest weakness. I think the Dolphins have a very talented offensive roster. I think the offense has all the talent you would need to be at least a top 10 offense in the NFL. I think it depends how you view the roster, but I love our receiver core. I love our quarterback. I think he's a franchise guy. I think our offensive depth has been much improved from a year ago. And the last 5 seasons, I think our offensive line talent from a year ago, I think the addition of Isaac Asiata was a godsend. and I think Jermon Bushron is fine. I don't think he's above average or average. I think he's okay, and I don't think it's going to matter all that much. And I think if Mike Pouncey can stay healthy, I think those are the biggest question marks on the offense. But when you look at our running back situation with Jay, who I think is one of the best running backs in the NFL, and I have a lot of faith in Ryan. I think he's our franchise guy. You look at Devante Parker, Jarvis Landry, Kenny Stills, Deontay Cruz, Jakeem Grant. I mean, the list, Kenyon Drake. I mean, the depth and talent on this offense, and they're so young. So we've yet to see their full potential. And I think this upcoming season we're actually going to see that. I forgot to mention Julius Thomas. So the offense, I think the biggest strength of the Miami Dolphins is the offense. I think the offense is so talented. I think it's underratedly talented. To the weakness of the Miami Dolphins, I think the weakness has been for the Dolphins, at least last season and years prior to that, has been consistency. You can point your finger at any player on the Dolphins roster, or at least on the offensive side of the football. You can point it to Juwan James. You can point it to even Jarvis Landry. You can point it to Devante Parker. You can point it at Kenny Stills. You can point it at some players just don't show up. And we're so talented where that doesn't matter anymore, I don't think, as much as it did. So Jarvis Landry can have a bad game, but Devante Parker can have a great game. Devante Parker cannot have not as good as a game, and Jarvis Landry can have a great game. But consistency has been such a bad issue where nobody shows up sometimes. And I think a lot of that had to do with learning Adam Gase's offense for the first year. I think a lot of that had to do with learning the playbook. But we were terrible in third down efficiency. A third down percentage was awful. That has to improve. We were last in the NFL in offensive snaps taken. That has to improve. Our offense is too talented not to be on the football field more. We have to improve on third down, and we have to be on the field longer. We have got to be on the field longer. So that takes consistency. So if the Dolphins can do that, we're a very dangerous team in 2017. All right, this next question comes from James Parker. He says, if some reason Ryan Tannehill fails to improve as a quarterback, do you think the Dolphins will draft a quarterback in the 2018 NFL draft? If Ryan Tannehill does not show us he's their franchise quarterback this upcoming season, let's just say he has a terrible season, which I do not see happening, but let's say he does. Yeah, I think the Dolphins will move on. I think this year, because last year he showed a lot. He showed a lot of improvement. He showed a lot of improvement in the fourth quarter. He showed a lot of improvement. And in my opinion, the biggest gripe I've ever had, the biggest criticism I've ever had with Tannehill is not the deep ball. I think that's been one of the most common misconceptions of Tannehill's game, which is, I don't know how you, I mean, if you just look at the stats, from last season. It's not the deep ball. It's not the accuracy. It's been instincts. I think instincts have been the problem with Tannehill for all of his whole year, his years at Miami. I think instincts has been his problem, and I don't think it's as bad as people think. I think he really improved that last season, and a lot of that, to be honest with you guys, has to do with his coaching in the past. I think Joe Philbin really taught him to be a robotic. You follow the West Coast system. This is Mike Sherman. This is Bill Lazor. Just follow this system to a T. You are just the point guard, just run the offense. I don't want you doing anything crazy. And I think that has a lot to do with Joe Philbin more than it does Ryan Tannehill. But what Adam Gase brought in is, yes, Ryan, use your athleticism, use your instincts. And I think we saw a lot more of that last season, but I think he can still improve on that this upcoming season. I want to see more of that. I want to see more of him using his legs to pick up first downs. I want to see, because what Ryan does is he'll break the pocket and he'll have a first down, but what he does, he runs to throw. He doesn't run to get a first down. I just want to see more of that. I just want to see more instincts from Ryan Tannehill in the 2017 NFL season. That's what I think he has to improve on. But if the Dolphins, if they don't see improvement from Ryan Tannehill, if he digresses, if he has a worse season than he did last season, which he had a really good season last year, then yes, the Dolphins probably would move on from Ryan Tannehill. This next question comes from Archie. He says, what veteran do you see having the biggest impact on the Miami Dolphins in the 2017 NFL season? Well, Archie, I think hands down it has to be William Hayes. I think William Hayes, because there are question marks with Lawrence Timmons, I think there are no question marks with William Hayes. I think he's going to come in and drastically fix this run defense. I think he's going to improve it, whether that be 5 spots from where we ranked before. But I think he's going to improve it. Not only that, but I could see him lining up on the inside and adding more depth at that defensive tackle. You're going to see him line up in like 5,000 different positions. He's going to line up at end. DT. I think you're definitely going to see him line up inside a lot, whether that being a pass rushing situation or obvious rundowns, goal line. He's an explosive player. He's a playmaker. He really is going to help us in the run game. And he's going to add great depth. And in the rotation, our defensive line rotation is something to be feared. And I think, yeah, by far, I think it's going to be William Hayes. I think he's going to step in as a veteran and make an extreme impact. This next question comes from Ian Good. He says, which rookie do you see having the most production and the most impact in the 2017 NFL season? So I'm going to split this into two. I think production-wise, I think Charles Harris. I think Charles Harris is going to has a really good chance of having double-digit sacks this upcoming season. I think he's going to make a really big impact in closing out games. I think you're going to see him a lot in the fourth quarter. I would say Charles Harris is going to have the most production. I think he's going to have a double-digit sack season. And in terms of the most the biggest impact, I would say Isaac Asiata. I think he's going to come in. He's going to add that nasty, tough, strong offensive lineman. Super athletic. He's going to really affect the run game. And Jay Ajayi running behind him. It's going to be awesome to see. And he's a hard worker. I would expect Isaac Asiata brings that durability, that consistency that we need on the offensive line. So impact, I would say Isaac Asiata. Production, I would say Charles Harris. This next question comes from Hunter Hayes. He says, Clyde Christensen said, quote, Jay Ajayi's catching ability has improved 200%. Do you think Gase will draw up plays for him? Because I think that is something that we really lacked in 2017 or 2016. You're absolutely right, Hunter Hayes. We were statistically, if you want to bring up stats into this, and just obviously the eye test alone, we were by far last in the NFL in terms of receiving yards from, or Jay Ajayi was in terms of starting running backs. Jay Ajayi was in terms of starting running backs who had receiving yards. Jay Ajayi was, I think, last in the NFL by far. I think second to last was Todd Gurley. So that goes to show you where Jay was last season in terms of a receiving back. So Jay, I hope coming out of Boise State, Jay was the most smooth running back coming out of the draft, probably other than David Johnson or maybe Amir Abdullah. So I think Jay Ajayi has it. He has the talent to do it. He hasn't really showed that. I think a lot of that had to do with the playbook, him learning it for the first time. But, some of the most notable plays that, drop passes, whatever you want to call them, I think one of the biggest ones was against the Arizona Cardinals when he was wide open and just couldn't get to the ball. And, I think Jay's going to absolutely improve that. I think one of the biggest reasons why he didn't last season was because of him learning the playbook. I think now that he's acclimated to the playbook, I would totally expect him to do that because he just looked like he was robotic, he wasn't smooth, he wasn't playing fast, he was more like he was thinking before, you had to think a lot. It just didn't look like it was coming natural to him, and I think that was because he was learning the playbook. So yeah, I expect Jay Ajayi to have way bigger impact from ranking last in the NFL in receiving yards for a starting running back. Yes, I would say huge improvement in that facet of his game for sure. This next question comes from Sean Smith. He says, as far as the 2017 NFL draft goes, if we took Reuben Foster and then traded up for Forrest Lamp in the second round, would that have been better than what we did? The Reuben Foster thing it makes me upset because of the talent that Reuben Foster is, but now that we learned about the shoulder injury thing and all that other stuff, I understand why we did it. Not only that, but a lot of people forget that Charles Harris, nobody expected him to be there at 22. At all. And I know he's not a big name, and if you're not a hardcore football fan, you wouldn't know who he is. But if Malik Hooker didn't fall, if Jonathan Allen didn't fall, if everybody in the NFL draft in the 20s didn't trade up to get a quarterback, then Charles Harris would probably be an Indianapolis Colt right now and not a Miami Dolphin. Would it have been awesome to get Reuben Foster and Forrest Lamp? Yes, but that's unrealistic. I mean, maybe obviously for Reuben Foster, that's realistic. Forrest Lamp, that is 100% unrealistic. We had no draft picks in that draft at all. We have no ammo to give any team to trade up, which is unfortunate. And I think I should have gave the Dolphins a lower grade because we did have potential to get up and get a Forrest Lamp. But I'm happy how the chips fell, man. I love Raekwon McMillan, and I love Charles Harris. So this next question comes from Alberto. He says, who will be the most improved player from last year? So I think I'm going to take this, who's going to be the most improved player from the 2016 NFL draft. Now, I think the obvious answer to that question, I think, would probably be Leonte Carroo. I think he has so much talent. Again, to quote Richard Sherman, this kid is a really, really bright future in the league after actually guarding him when we played the Seahawks. So I think I'm going to go off a little off-road, a little bit non-conventional here. And I'm going to say Jakeem Grant. And everything that I heard from the press conference that the Miami Dolphins did with Clyde Christensen about how impressive his route technique is, and especially with his explosion and speed. And when coming out of college, he's got, for a little man, he's got really, really good ball skills. Clyde also said, quote, he's probably pound for pound the strongest player on the Miami Dolphins. I think it was, again, another case of development. I think he was a developmental player. I think a year under an Adam Gase system is really going to benefit him. I think, obviously, the Dolphins came out and said also in that the press conference that they are going to use him at receiver a whole lot more. They're going to line him on the outside, in the slot. They're going to line him up everywhere, which is very exciting because how he can score from anywhere on the field. The man can score from anywhere on the field. And to hear that his route technique is, to hear how all offseason he's been working really, really hard to become a better player, I think we're going to see really big strides from Jakeem Grant in the 2017 NFL season, which is extremely exciting because of the explosion that he has, and I can't wait to see how we use him in gadget plays. It's going to be very, very, very exciting. So I would say Jakeem Grant is going to take the biggest step in the 2017 NFL season. So yeah, I think Jakeem Grant. This next question comes from Mick Skittle. He says, do you think the head coach of the front office will fire Adam Gase if he had a bad season like they did the past 5 coaches? Also, what do you think is holding the Miami Dolphins back from being a top 5 offense? Okay, so we got into this before and Pat in the previously in the video, but the whole Adam Gase thing, when you bring up that we did with the past 5 head coaches, well, I think the underrated thing about Stephen Ross is he actually gave Joe Philbin, I think is the best example, a very long time to build a winning product, and he just couldn't do it. Joe Philbin was a terrible leader, a terrible head coach, terrible at developing talent. Really never brought his own. When we hired him, Tad, I really don't know why. I don't know. Why we kept him for so long. Because he wasn't the first choice, he wasn't the second choice, he wasn't the third choice, he wasn't the fourth choice. I mean, the man, we really kind of got dealt a bad deck. And the thing about Adam Gase is he was the first choice we had. He was the best head coach on the market, and we ended up getting him. But I don't think Adam Gase is so far. Adam Gase is like God status, okay? And Joe Philbin is like a turd, okay? That's the level difference we're working with here. Not only that, but back to my original point about Stephen Ross, he gave him 4 years to prove that he could at least develop talent, consistently build a football team, win, and he couldn't do it. So, I mean, and obviously he went through crapping Bullygate. The locker room, I was not behind him. We had the whole Brent Grimes thing. I mean, it was just such a bad... So many scandals and so many mishandled things under Joe Philbin. So Adam Gase is far superior to Joe Philbin ever was. And not only that, but to get into your thing about what is preventing the Dolphins from being a top 5 offense, it's third down percentage. They need to stay on the field more. They need to take more snaps, and it's consistency. That's all it is. That's the only thing. That is the only thing, because the talent on this team, on this offense, is unreal. This next question comes from Warren. He says, I'm still concerned about the guard spot and Palante's health. To me, you need one Pro Bowl caliber guard. I'm not going to say Isaac Asiata is that yet. We have no idea. I don't think he has potential to be, but I don't know about his first season being a Pro Bowl guard. I don't think you need a Pro Bowl guard to. I mean, I don't think that is an important thing. Here's what I would say to you, Warren, and I know it's a concern, and it's a concern for all of us Dolphins fans. Is consistency on the offensive line, consistency on the offense, just to begin with. I think it is. The talent has improved. So, and I think the durability and the consistency just of having the same offensive line for a full 16-game season is so important, and I think Isaac Asiata adds that. So I think we are far improved from a season ago in terms of consistency, durability, and chemistry. I think that on the offensive line is so important, and I think we have improved in that aspect. I am Skyx1383. I want to thank everybody who commented on the video. Special thanks to everybody. I'm gonna have a little credit roll. Like, I don't know, it's not gonna be like Star Wars or anything, but it's gonna be like a little credit roll, little like credits for everybody who commented and who I appreciate for you guys. So if you guys want to, watch that at the end, I guess. But I am very thankful for everybody participating. I'm sorry this video wasn't as long as usual. If you guys want it to be longer, let me know. It's very important that you let me guys know that, or else I wouldn't know. So if you do want it to be longer, if you don't care, then don't comment, and I'll just keep doing it this way. But there is something to be said for it to be super edited and condensed. I think I like doing it that way a little bit more. But if you want it to be a little bit more of a podcasty feel, let me know down in the comment section below. And I am SkyX1383, and I will see you guys in the next one.